Hello, authors. It's me, Melody Ann. Today we're going to be talking about cultivating creativity for writers. Now, I get it sometimes, and especially for some people, logic gets in the way. We land up spending 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes trying to pick that perfect word rather than letting our ideas flow. And there is time for logic. There's also time for creativity, a time for play. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, in a recent video, I talked about thinking patterns. I talked about sometimes we need creativity and sometimes we need logic. This video is all about the creativity, and we call that divergent thinking. So divergent thinking allows us to break away from conventional thought patterns, linear thought patterns, to come up with lots of ideas, lots of possibilities, lots of perspectives, so that we aren't kind of stuck in our logical thinking, that we open ourselves up. Now, I want to give you 10 strategies to help you with divergent thinking. And number one, it's simply suspend judgment. We spend a lot of time receiving an idea and immediately yes or no based on whatever we have going on. So even if something seems unrealistic or far-fetched, explore it. How can this be right? What parts of this is good? Right? Suspend judgment around the other ideas that you don't necessarily agree with, or even that you think are crazy. So on top of suspending judgment, pardon me, on top of suspending judgment, the other thing you can do is generate multiple ideas. And this is all about brainstorming. Brainstorming is about generating tons of ideas without judging them, without deciding their merits. Are they good or are they bad? So just worry about the volume of ideas that you can come up with in 5 minutes rather than coming up with one good idea and exploring it desperately to its exactness in 5 minutes. Next, make connections. How is what you're talking about related to something that seems completely unrelated? I'll give you an example here. I recently did a video on how book launches are like weddings, and we should think about the marriage, not just the wedding, when we're launching a book. I will drop the link to that as well. But you see how, what do weddings and book launches have to do with each other? But watch the video and you will see that I have made a connection, and it helps people who are launching a book for the first time understand how to create a successful book launch while thinking about that long-term plan. Next, uh, explore analogies and metaphors. And the wedding is a really good example of that, right? So that was an analogy. So you're just reframing things in new and unexpected ways. Number five, embrace playfulness. So being playful, be curious, be that child who's walking along the street and stops to look at an ant or a blade of grass. Just allow yourself to doodle or improvise or just free word associations, write poetry. Just embrace the playfulness. Write a poem about your topic. Reverse assumptions. That's number six. So we often get really stuck in our own, like, this is how it should be done, this is the way it is. And then we don't really explore those alternate perspectives, those different viewpoints enough. And that can be really difficult for an author because you're trying to convince people of a certain idea. But what if, right? These other scenarios, the other things that you're completely dismissing. What if other people believe in them? If you explore them, you can understand them and maybe even refute them. So reverse assumptions are really important. Seek diverse input. Don't just go to people exactly like you to talk about your book. Talk to people who might have completely different political views, ideas, whatever it happens to be. Just go and talk to a lot of people about it. I remember living abroad. I lived in Asia, I've lived in South America, and coming from North America, I had a certain set of, how things are done and values and the way I saw the world. Well, I opened my mind to different cultures, different language, different ways of thinking about things, different ways of doing things. And that really made a difference in my ability to kind of have that open thought, that playfulness. And so I encourage you to do the same. Next, practice mindfulness. Just meditate. You don't have to meditate. I don't meditate, but deep breathing, quiet your mind. When we are so busy and we're just going through our day, ticking things off a to-do list, it's like, I got to get 1,000 words in, get them in, and get those perfect words in. We're so focused, we're so busy that good ideas just get washed away because we're just too focused on what has to be done. We're not relaxed. We're not open, right? We're not tapping into our intuition. So just spend some time deep breathing, go for a walk, take a shower. How many good ideas do you have in the shower? That's because you get in the shower, the hot water hits, and you are relaxed. So do whatever you need to do just to turn off for a moment, just so that you can allow things to come to you without you just ticking things off a list. Encourage serendipity. Remain open to unexpected discoveries, chance encounters that may lead to new insights. Allow yourself to just follow a tangent, explore a new avenue. Don't always think that there's one predetermined course of action. And finally, number 10, iterate and refine. So we get into our playful mind, and then we get into our logic mind, and we tighten things up. And then it's okay to go back into the playful mind and get feedback and then try it again. And if ideas don't work, if you give a piece of writing to someone and it doesn't work for them, and you feel like that's a failure, don't worry. That not having it perfect, not choosing the right metaphor is a natural part of growing, a natural part of developing your ideas. So don't worry if things aren't working out at the moment. It's about exploring. Don't get set into something. All right, I want to give you 3 very specific activities to try to help you get more into your divergent thinking. And the first one is reverse thinking. We talked about that. So I want you to take an assumption that you have, or a problem that you think you have a solution for. For example, you're writing a book about sales. And so, of course, everyone who's reading the book wants to know, how do we increase sales? Well, ask yourself, how do we decrease sales? How do we lose sales? And just write about that. What is it? 50 ways to lose a lover, or whatever it is, right? How do we fail? How can we fail at this? Reverse thinking, and just think of all the ways that you can lose sales. And that's actually going to help you get back into, okay, if this is how you lose sales, what do we need to do to make that not happen, right? Okay, the next one is alternative perspective brainstorming. So take a conventional assumption, take some conventional wisdom, and start exploring alternative perspectives on that topic. A really good example is climate change. So if you are writing a book about climate change and you are a scientist, before you just lay out the facts and say, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, think, how do politicians think about it? What are their perspectives? Write from a politician's perspective, then write from an activist's perspective, then write from the perspective of future generation. Just dig into those other perspectives. And then my last exercise for you is creative prompt exploration. So I want you to use creative prompts to spark divergent thinking and explore new possibilities. So it could be a lyric from a song, it could be a poem, it could be a quote. Find someone in your industry who's had a lot of quotes. Grab 1 or 2 of that person's quotes, write 1 quote down, and just explore that without censoring yourself. This is it. We have to stop censoring ourselves. Just allow as many ideas to come up as possible. Be playful, have fun. So those are the 3 activities that I'm going to suggest you try out to just, if you're in that kind of logic brain and you want to get out of that logic brain, these are some wonderful activities to try. They'll help you suspend judgment. They'll help you generate multiple ideas, make connections, explore alternatives, be playful, and experiment. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. And next time I'm going to talk about, if you're already way too creative and you want to get more into your logical thinking, then that will be our next video. We'll see you then.